Growth isn't always easy, and it is not always fun. Sometimes you feel off or more irritable, and that's okay. Those emotions are part of the process too. They're signs that what you've learned is starting to become a part of who you are. Hello, friends, and welcome to The Free Advantage, brought to you by The Risky Path. Each week, you will join me here as we explore self-liberation, authenticity, and the journey to uncovering a life of freedom. This podcast is about sharing and exploring impactful experiences that we all share in a relatable and digestible way. With so much information out there, it can be overwhelming to take it all in. And here, I want to give you small bites that you can take back into your week and integrate into your daily life. We live in a world where it can feel like no matter what we do or how hard we try, that nothing will change. This can cause us to believe that even we can't change. I have so many people asking me, why aren't things changing? I'm doing the work. Today, I want to help answer that question and help you start to see the changes that you desire. So let's talk about change. We're going to dig into the reasons that this happens and why we can often feel this way. A lot of times we can feel like we're doing the work, but instead we're just gathering information. What I know is that there is a lot, and I mean a lot of information out there. We are constantly inundated with more and more and more. We read more, we listen more, we watch more, and the knowledge and information just piles up in our heads until we're overwhelmed. But this, my friends, isn't growth. If we know so much, then why aren't things changing? Why aren't things getting better? And why have some things gotten worse? I want to talk about the difference between learning and growing. So first and foremost, let's get one thing straight. Learning and growing are not the same thing. You can read all the books, take all of the courses, and gather all of the knowledge in the world. But growth? No. Sometimes I think we get this idea of what growth is, and when we don't see change, we feel let down, disappointed, and helpless. Growth is happening when you are able to take all of the knowledge that you have and integrate it into your everyday life. It's not enough to just understand something. Growth means you're actually putting it into action, and that, my friends, is where the magic is happening. I like to think of learning as collecting tools. You read, you listen, you observe. But growth is when you actually start building something with those tools. That might look like you're being more compassionate with yourself. Maybe your inner dialogue is a little kinder. Or you start setting boundaries that align with your values. Or maybe sometimes things feel a little off, and you might feel a little disconnected in some ways. These are what I call growth symptoms, the signs that growth is happening. Growth is going to be about how you use your knowledge to shape the way that you live your life. When something happens in our bodies like sickness, injury, or trauma, we know something's wrong because of the symptoms. They serve as a signal that a change has actually occurred. But how often do we talk about the symptoms of our inner growth? I tell you, definitely not enough. Maybe it's because we don't recognize them, or maybe it's because we don't like to give ourselves credit. Or maybe we don't believe it's happened at all, or that it hasn't actually happened. Maybe we haven't grown. Growth symptoms show up when you notice shifts in your emotions, your behaviors, and thoughts. And these changes can be subtle or dramatic, but they're there. You might feel more self-aware or have what people call aha moments, or notice that your priorities are shifting. You might want to change something about yourself even, like your hair or your wardrobe or even your home. That's something that I do. And when I'm starting to experience symptoms of growth for sure, I start to feel a little uncomfortable and uneasy. It makes me want to start purge. I go into a purging mode, where I start going through my home and it's time to get rid of this. It's a clearing of sorts. You can also find yourself catching behaviors that maybe no longer align with your true authentic self, and it might make you question, what's going on? Growth isn't always easy, and it's not always fun. Sometimes you do feel off or more irritable, and that is okay. Those emotions are part of the process too. They're signs that what you've learned is starting to become a part of who you are. Growth is also an ever evolving process. It is not a destination that we reach. I know firsthand that you can feel like you've reached some place where you've learned things and you know all the things, and you're like, yeah, I'm finally here. And then life throws you a curveball because, well, that's life. Right now, I know things are not easy at all, not as easy as we would like them for sure. The world is feeling like it's upside down, and some of us don't even recognize our own place in the world like we used to. And personally, even for me, finances are tight. And I mean tight. Like, let's be honest, last year's pants are a little tight. Money, it's tough right now. And it is hard to live in a world that constantly throws you curveballs. But that's the thing about being humans, our resilience. Our resilience to learn, grow, and be who we are created to be. The sweet spot for me really is taking the adversity that we face, taking all of the hardships that we experience, and integrating them into something good, to something more for ourselves, and not letting things that we have overcome and worked hard to get through to just lay in waste. That is my greatest achievement. When people ask me about my accomplishments, I don't give accolades like degrees or job titles or test scores, which is something my son's big on, and or certificates or even speeches that I've done. My greatest achievement in life is that I have survived and I've done it well. I'm here and I am still breathing. So I encourage you not to look at all of the things you face, the hardships and all the adversity that are just a lot, or look back at your life and be disappointed that things haven't always gone the way you wanted. I think things have gone exactly how they should be for you to be who you need to be. But this is proof that we are constantly evolving, always growing. Ask yourself not only just what have I learned, but how have I grown? Maybe you make a list of all of your accomplishments. Be proud that you can be here and listening to this podcast, that you can walk alongside all of the other humans in this world and know that in the end, you did it well. Here's something critical too that we often forget, that growth cannot be forced. You cannot grow any faster than you were ready for. And that applies to both physical and the emotional realms. Just like you can't make a person grow taller or more mature overnight, you can't rush inner growth. It happens incrementally from the inside out. This is important not just for ourselves, but when we're walking with others through their growth process as well. You can't argue or fight someone into growing, and you cannot do it to yourself either. It just doesn't work. And because everyone grows at different rates, some are late bloomers while others are far beyond their years, but how we grow is not for us to decide. We need to remember is that growing pains are a very real thing. They are symptoms, and they also create a struggle sometimes. My struggles still hit hard. Sometimes, no matter how much I've learned or grown, it feels like the stress of life gets to me anyway. And growth is not just challenging for the one growing, but for the environment around them. When the environment is nurturing, growth is encouraged. And when it's not, growth can be stunted and discouraged. So be mindful of the space you create for yourself and for others. And that doesn't just mean your physical space, like just your home, your work or school, or, the physical place. But more importantly, it means the space in your mind. When the environment is suitable, growth is encouraged. When it's not, growth is discouraged. Remember that. But you know what? The struggle is all part of this growing process. And it's okay to feel that way, even though it doesn't always feel good. I've learned something vital to lean in and let the overwhelm, the fear, the anger, even the hopelessness just wash over me. I have to permit myself to yell, to cry, and to cave in, but not in the sense of giving up. No, I let myself cave in to process everything, to feel the weight, and then I move through it. That's a huge part of the growth process, and honestly, it's where some of the most important transformation happens. I can see my symptoms of growth in that. Caving in isn't a sign of weakness. It's a chance for growth and for connecting more deeply with myself. As we wrap up here today, I really encourage you to reflect on your life and the growth symptoms you may already be seeing. What are your symptoms, whether in your emotions and your behaviors or maybe your perspectives? What are those symptoms that signal growth? How have you evolved even if the progress feels small? Growth isn't about constant forward motion. Sometimes it happens in those quiet, still moments where we pause, reflect, and let ourselves cave in. That's when we discover new parts of ourselves, when we break through instead of breaking down. If you're finding yourself in one of those caving in moments, take a breath. You're exactly where you're meant to be. This is just the beginning of your journey, and you don't have to do it alone. As you move through your week, I encourage you to hold space for those moments of challenge and overwhelm. Lean into them, trust them, and know that they are a vital part of your growth journey. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here today on The Free Advantage. For more resources, visit my website, theriskypath.com. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And please don't forget, like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Your voice matters. It helps us to grow and to get our message out to more people just like you. Let's continue the journey to freedom together. And remember, freedom is the advantage you already own. Until next time.